It was almost poetic, the way silence gripped the entire 32nd floor of the Bradmoor Building, once a buzzing financial hub in Midtown Boston, now just a forgotten vertical skeleton awaiting demolition. In its prime, the building's elevator system had been one of the most advanced in the city. By the fall of 2023, only 2 elevators still operated, reluctantly groaning to life when summoned by late-shift security or the occasional city inspector. That night, a digital footprint vanished. At 3:48 a.m., a motion trigger flagged activity in Elevator B. By protocol, the feed should have been automatically stored on the central server. But when Martin Kale, a forensic IT analyst contracted by the city, accessed the archives during routine data migration, he noticed something impossible. The final file in the chain labeled ELEV_B_22-3-10-04_0348.mp4 was missing. It wasn't just corrupted or mislabeled. The file ID existed, but the data itself had been forcefully purged. Overwritten with zeros, no deletion logs, no admin access, no error codes, as if something had reached into the system and wiped only that precise moment out of time. Martin didn't believe in ghosts. He believed in bad encryption, disgruntled employees, malware. He was logical, methodical. But when he recovered the camera logs, one detail cracked the shell of reason. Despite the missing file, the elevator's thermal camera had still logged temperature shifts and weight displacement. From 3 hours 47 minutes and 59 seconds to 3 hours 50 minutes and 13 seconds a.m., the elevator had registered a temperature drop of 17 degrees and a fluctuating mass equivalent to 71 kilograms. Someone or something had been in that elevator. The deeper Martin dove, the more unsettling the digital footprints became. Footage before and after the missing file showed an empty elevator rising from the basement to floor 32. No button presses. No maintenance call. And yet, at 3:48 a.m., a shadow barely visible seemed to slip across the doorway in the frame from an adjacent hallway camera. The shadow wasn't shaped like a person. It bent at odd angles, stretching beyond the boundaries of the corridor lighting. No one entered, no one left. But the door sensor for apartment 32A Long, since condemned, registered an open event at 3 hours 49 minutes and 6 seconds a.m. The unit had been sealed since 2009. Martin should have reported his findings immediately. Instead, he saved the raw thermal log, copied the corrupted entry into an isolated drive, and took the next day off. By sunset, he was standing alone outside the Bradmoor Building's rusted security gate, staring up at its lifeless windows. One last file was missing, but the elevator camera had recorded something it shouldn't have. The seal was broken. The old security badge still worked. Martin felt the click beneath his thumb as the rusted reader blinked green, unlocking the employee entrance to the Bradmoor Building. A dead gust of wind slipped past him as the door creaked open, dust swirling in coils along the cracked tile floor. Inside, the lobby stood like a forgotten mausoleum, silent, stale, lined with covered furniture and cracked LED screens, still stuck on the city's emergency broadcast from 3 weeks ago. The only sound came from deep within the vertical heart of the building, the mechanical exhale of Elevator B, its gears twitching somewhere above, as if sensing it was being watched. Martin's footsteps echoed off marble and metal as he crossed the lobby, passing the central reception desk, now gutted and strewn with old security memos. The elevator call button flickered when pressed, casting a pale glow across his fingertips. For a moment, he thought he heard movement in the stairwell behind him, a faint shuffle of shoes on concrete. He didn't turn, not yet. The elevator doors parted with a shuddering groan. The air inside was cold, colder than the rest of the building. No lights, just the soft ambient spill from the lobby ceiling. Martin stepped inside and pulled out his thermal scanner, aiming it at the floor panel. Baseline temp, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, slightly below ambient, and dropping. He hit the button for the 32nd floor. The elevator moved sluggishly, resisting its purpose. Around floor 18, the lights inside blinked once, then again, and failed completely. The elevator plunged into darkness. Martin didn't panic. He simply activated the night vision on his handheld and kept recording. The green hue washed over the interior, revealing nothing out of place except, in the upper corner near the security cam, the faint outline of a dark smear on the wall, like ash or soot. It hadn't been there in the footage he reviewed. Floor 32. The doors creaked open into a hallway, bathed in darkness and stale air. His flashlight caught the faded numbers: 32A, 32B, 32C. The carpet here was partially torn, mold threading along its seams. The walls bore faint handprints near the floorboards, smudged, inconsistent, as if from a child crawling. No footprints, only the streaks. Martin advanced toward 32A. The door to the unit was slightly ajar. This was impossible. City code enforcement had welded every entrance shut in 2010. After an incident no one in the records office would speak openly about. The tenant, an elderly woman named Edna Vale, had reportedly never left. No next of kin, no body recovered. He pushed the door open with a quiet groan. Inside was a living room frozen in time. A rocking chair faced the window, its cushion sunken. Photographs lined the wall, except all the faces were scorched out, warped black like they'd been burned from inside the frame. Dust hung in the air like smoke. The air was frigid now, his breath visible as he stepped further in. And he saw it. On the ground beneath the window, a VHS tape. Its label read only 3:48 a.m. Martin crouched and reached for it. But before he could touch it, the room dimmed even further, as if a cloud had passed over a sun that no longer existed. He turned his head. The rocking chair was slowly moving. No wind, no draft. Just a steady, deliberate creak, creak, creak. Martin stood up and backed away toward the door, the tape now clutched in his hand. Behind him, the hallway flickered. Lights came on for half a second, revealing a figure standing at the far end, tall, motionless, its face buried in shadow. No eyes, no features. Then darkness returned, and the door to 32, slammed shut behind him, with the force of something ancient and very awake. What was on the tape? Martin didn't stop running until the elevator doors closed. The impact of the door, slamming in Unit 32, still echoed in his skull like thunder underwater. Every step from that apartment had felt slower than the last, as if the hallway itself stretched and warped behind him. But now, sealed in the flickering metallic box of Elevator B, the silence returned and brought with it a kind of pressure, like descending too fast in a deep-sea dive. He gripped the VHS tape tightly in his hand. Cold. Too cold. It felt denser than it should, the plastic casing rigid like frozen bone. The handwritten label 3:48 a.m. was faded, but unmistakably fresh in ink. It hadn't been sitting there long. The elevator groaned and shuddered downward. Floor 28. Floor 19. Then pause. No movement. No noise. Just dead halt between 14 and 13. The panel blinked. The temperature dropped another 3 degrees. He turned slowly. The elevator's overhead camera, disconnected from the system for years, whirred. It was tracking him. Martin stared at it, unmoving. He didn't blink. The lens followed. He raised his hand slowly, and the lens twitched slightly to mirror the motion. He'd never heard of analog cameras reactivating themselves. Not without a feed. Not without power. When the elevator finally resumed, the camera powered down with a sigh. By the time he reached the lobby, dawn was smearing pale gray across the city skyline. He walked briskly to his car, locked the doors, and didn't breathe until the Bradmoor Building shrank in the rearview mirror. Back home, Martin slid the tape into an old VHS player, one he hadn't used in a decade, but never got around to tossing. The screen buzzed with static, then cleared into black and white. Elevator B night vision mode. Timestamp, 3 hours 47 minutes and 51 seconds a.m. The footage was silent. At first, the elevator stood still, doors closed. Then the lights flickered. The cabin shifted slightly, as if weight had been added. There was no one inside. No shadows, no forms. Timestamp, 3 hours 48 minutes and 0 seconds a.m. A thin mist began to form inside the elevator, spiraling unnaturally in a counterclockwise motion. It didn't roll like fog. It coiled. Then, the doors slid open. Nothing outside, just the dim hallway of the 32nd floor. The mist surged out, and there, frame by frame, came the figure. It stepped into view on the hallway edge, but its walk was wrong. It didn't bend at the knees. It floated without rising. The limbs were long and slightly bent, like joints installed backwards. It faced the camera briefly. The face was human-shaped, but flat, featureless, a stretched canvas of skin where eyes and mouth should be. Then, a sudden glitch. The video pixelated violently, frames distorting into red flashes. The camera caught one final image before the feed went black. A hand pressed flat against the lens. But not from inside the elevator, from within the camera itself. Martin ejected the tape. His hands were trembling now. The room felt different still, his apartment, but the colors were muted, the edges of things too sharp. The silence had a hum. The tape, once removed, was hot to the touch. He placed it on the desk and backed away. Then his phone buzzed. Unknown caller. He didn't answer. A voicemail appeared seconds later. He played it. There was no voice. Just 3 minutes and 48 seconds of soft, rhythmic breathing. Echoes in the static. The tape was gone. Martin had left it on the desk, in plain sight, under a small stack of notes he'd scribbled during playback. He hadn't left the apartment. The doors were locked, windows sealed. Yet when he woke, shirt damp with sweat, television screen still flickering with static, the tape was no longer there. In its place was a single object, an elevator button, round, metal, worn. The number 32 stamped into its surface in flaked red paint. He picked it up carefully, feeling its cold weight in his palm. The back was jagged, snapped from its panel. A smear of ash coated its edge. He hadn't slept long, maybe 2 hours. But in those hours, something had entered the apartment, taken the tape, and left a message. Not a threat, a direction. Martin booted his system, ran a full forensic scan of his network drives. The copy he had made of the elevator thermal logs? Corrupted. The recovery software returned an error he'd never seen before. Null cycle, followed by a system crash. When he rebooted, his desktop background had changed. An all-black screen, except for a single timestamp in white serif font. 3:48 a.m. No file, no folder, just the image. No way to remove it. Martin stared at the screen for a long time. Then he dressed, grabbed his gear, and left the apartment. The Bradmoor Building was waiting. This time, he didn't take the elevator. He climbed. 32 flights in near silence, save for the occasional echo of his own breath and the faint metallic tap behind him, irregular, distant, like something pacing the landings a few floors below. He didn't stop. Not even when the stairwell lights began to dim, one by one. Floor 32. The hallway had changed. The walls were darker now, blistered in places. The childlike handprints were still there, but they had multiplied and risen. Some were now chest height. Others smeared into long downward arcs. He passed 32B, then 32C, then reached the door to 32A. Still sealed. No sign it had ever been open. He pressed his hand to the cold metal. For a second, he could swear he felt something press back gently, like a hand mirroring his touch from the other side. The button was still in his pocket. He pulled it out, turned it over in his hand. Something in the hallway hummed, a low vibration under his feet. When he raised the button toward the lock seam of 32A, it clicked. Just once. Quiet, almost like recognition. He didn't open the door. Instead, he turned back and began photographing the entire floor. Every handprint, every blistered tile, every scorched frame. When he reached the elevator bay again, he saw something that hadn't been there before. A small piece of paper tucked into the seam of the elevator door. He pulled it free. Written in faded red pencil, the door must never close completely. That's when it comes through. No name, no date, just that single line. Then the lights in the hallway died. Not all at once sequentially, as if something were moving, killing the light as it passed. From the far end, the hallway began to stretch again. Slowly, unnaturally, the architecture pulled at itself like elastic, the vanishing point elongating. At the end of the corridor stood the same figure-tall, motionless, faceless. Only this time it started walking toward him, step by step. Martin backed into the elevator bay, hit the call button. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. He turned to the stairwell locked. The door to 32A was the only one still open a crack. And from behind it came a whisper. It's not the elevator. It's what used it. The hallway warped. The air thickened. The shadow closed in. Martin pushed the door open and stepped inside. Something followed him home. The door didn't close. Not entirely. Martin had made sure of it wedging the elevator button between the frame and the wood before entering 32A again. The room beyond was the same living room as before, but colder now, darker, as if even the dust had forgotten how to float. The rocking chair was still. The photos still burned. The window had fogged over from the inside, condensation running down the glass in slow, nervous rivulets. But something was different. The television. It was on. Static hummed from the CRT screen, its flickering glow barely illuminating the outline of a tape player built into the stand. There was no power in the building. He knew that. The main grid had been shut down in 2022. He had the files, the confirmation. Yet the screen buzzed, showing that same elevator footage, but looping now. A reverse loop, playing backward, the mist retreating, the door closing, the figure unstepping out of view. Martin stepped closer. As the footage reversed, the time stamp advanced. 3 hours 48 minutes and 17 seconds. 3 hours 48 minutes and 21 seconds. 3 hours 48 minutes and 26 seconds. It wasn't rewinding. It was undoing. Suddenly, the tape hissed. The footage froze. The figure turned face toward the lens and blinked into awareness. Not a real blink. Just a twitch. A movement within the static. The screen began to pulse, and a sound erupted from the speakers. Not a voice, not a frequency. A pressure. Like teeth grinding inside his skull. He staggered back. The door behind him slammed shut, and the button rolled into the center of the room. He was locked in. The lights began to flicker, casting harsh flashes across the space, revealing for brief, searing seconds the presence of something else in the room. Not a shape, not a form, just absence. Like a hole in the air, where reality bent inward. The walls flexed. The temperature dropped again. Then he heard it. A voice, layered in distortion, as if broadcast from beneath a frozen lake. He took the wrong copy. Martin scanned the room. The original tape was gone. This new one, the one in the player, was labeled 3:48 a.m. too, but the handwriting was subtly different. Angled, cruder. He approached it, squinting at the label, and saw it wasn't written in ink. It was scratched in. The voice again, louder now. "You brought it back." Martin yanked the tape from the player. The screen went black. Silence fell. He opened the door slowly half, expecting the hallway to have warped into something else entirely. But it was there, normal, or pretending to be. He didn't wait to test it. He bolted, down the stairwell, all 32 floors, out into the cold morning air. He didn't look back, not until he reached his car, and saw it on the back seat, the original tape, right where he hadn't left it. He drove straight home, parked underground, took the stairs to avoid the elevator in his own building. Every door he passed felt heavier than before. Every mirror threatened to show more than reflection. When he entered his apartment, his phone was ringing again. Unknown caller. He didn't answer. This time, there was no voicemail. But his computer had a new folder, unnamed. Inside it, a single image file. A screenshot from security footage. Him entering Unit 32A, and behind him, in the frame just before the door closed, a figure. Faceless, watching. The reflection isn't yours. Martin didn't sleep. Not that night. Not the next. Sleep had become a doorway, and he was afraid of what might come through if he closed his eyes. The tape, now locked in a lead-lined case under his desk, seemed to hum through the floorboards. No sound, just pressure, like it wanted out. He'd scanned the footage 100 times, paused, rewound, scrubbed frame by frame. There was something wrong with his own shadow. Not in the elevator, not in the hallway. In his apartment. During one frame, exactly 3 hours 48 minutes and 4 seconds a.m., his security cam caught him walking past his bathroom mirror. But the reflection didn't match. It was delayed. Not a glitch, not latency. His real body passed by, and the reflection turned its head too slowly and looked at the camera. He replayed it 10 times. The reflection turned and stared directly at the lens, expressionless, faceless, like it knew it was being watched, like it wanted to be. He shut off the monitor, walked into the bathroom, faced the mirror. His breath hung in the air room temperature below normal again. He raised his hand slowly. The reflection matched perfectly until it smiled. Martin staggered backward, slamming the door and pulling the light cord. The bulb flickered. Once, twice, then popped. From the hallway, his laptop let out a faint chime. A new message. No sender. Just the subject line. You looked. He checked the time. 3:48 a.m. Everything circled back. He paced the room, tried to think, tried to breathe, but the air had gone thick. Dry, like the walls were absorbing oxygen. A low, oscillating hum had begun to emanate from the vents. He knelt, put his ear to the floor. The sound was deeper than the building. It was coming from under the city. Then, for the first time in 2 days, the power in his apartment flickered. All the lights dimmed at once, and the elevator in the hallway dinged. Martin froze. It hadn't been used in months. He grabbed his thermal cam, edged to the peephole. There was no one in the hall, but the elevator was open, waiting. He shouldn't have walked toward it. He knew that, but something in the air was pulling. The kind of compulsion that isn't yours, but where's your voice when it speaks inside your head? He stepped in. The button panel was blank. All except one light. B basement. It was already lit. The doors closed. He felt the descent before the car even moved an internal drop. Like his stomach knew they weren't going down through floors. They were sinking through something else. The numbers didn't change. No motion. just pressure. Then the doors opened. Blackness, not darkness. Absence, the kind of void you feel in your teeth. A cold too thick for air. Martin raised the thermal cam, aimed it outward. Nothing, but the cam buzzed target detected, center screen. He adjusted the focus. There, floating just at the edge of the frame, was a silhouette, faceless, identical to the reflection. Only now, it was moving toward him. He stepped back. The doors tried to close, but jammed halfway. The lights above him exploded one by one as the shape crossed the threshold, each step punctuated by a low-frequency rumble. The elevator began to rise again, on its own. As it ascended, the lights returned, but the figure didn't. It was gone, yet the air was wrong. Martin turned and saw the reflection again. Not in the mirror this time. In the brushed steel of the elevator wall. It was inside, standing behind him. 3:48 a.m. never ends. When the elevator doors opened, Martin didn't recognize the floor. There was no number on the wall, no exit sign, just concrete, seamless, wet, like the hallway had been poured from memory and left to cure in silence. A single fluorescent light buzzed overhead, too bright, flickering with a rhythm that didn't match the hum of the world outside. He stepped out. Behind him, the elevator stayed open, as if daring him to come back. The hallway stretched forward, narrowing with each step. The air was heavy, moist, electric. It smelled of rust and mold and something faintly sweet, like decayed flowers. He passed a door. 32A. Again, but this time the numbers were reversed, as if seen in a mirror. He turned the handle. The room inside was his apartment, exactly his. Same couch, same coffee table, same pile of notes by the desk, but wrong. A window looked out into blackness. The walls pulsed faintly, like they were breathing. The television flickered, showing static wrapped around frames of old elevator footage. And on the floor, right in front of the bathroom door, lay a VHS tape, unlabeled. Martin didn't want to touch it. He knew what it was. Another key. Another loop. He turned toward the bathroom. The door was open. His reflection stood inside the mirror, still, watching, and this time it moved first. It stepped forward, pressing its hands against the glass from the inside, then leaned its head against it. Then it spoke. Its mouth opened slowly, impossibly wide, and a sound came out that wasn't made for ears. It wasn't language. It was time compressed, crushed into tone. Martin felt his knees buckle. Blood dripped from his nose. The sound tasted like copper and fog and old film reels burned to ash. Then silence. The reflection mouthed 3 words. "Don't wake up." The mirror cracked. Just once. A hairline fracture spreading down the center like a scar. Martin turned and ran. Through the apartment. Out into the hallway. Back to the elevator. It was still there waiting. But when he stepped inside, the doors didn't close, because there were no doors. The elevator was just an open platform now, suspended in black. And rising. Up through levels of impossible architecture floors filled with rooms he'd never seen. Places that looked like memories from someone else's life. A school hallway lit by flickering sodium lights. A hospital corridor with gurneys draped in white sheets. A bedroom with no windows and dozens of TVs stacked against the walls, all showing his apartment from different angles. He rose past them all, and the numbers ticked upward. Not floors, not time. 3 hours 47 minutes and 55 seconds. 3 hours 47 minutes and 58 seconds. 3 hours 48 minutes and 0 seconds. It stopped. A chime. Martin stepped out into a place without walls. A void, and at the center, a single chair, facing away. Someone sat in it, still, silent, watching a screen that hovered in midair. It played the elevator footage on loop. Martin approached, slowly, heart pounding like war drums. He circled the chair and saw himself, older, hollowed, eyes blackened, skin waxen, mouth slightly open, staring at nothing or everything. Then the screen shifted, no longer showing footage. Now it showed him, standing there, watching himself. He looked into the camera feed and saw the elevator behind him, the doors closing. By the time he turned, he was already inside again, and the screen above the button panel read, 3:48 a.m., always, forever. The final frame burned into his vision. A figure, standing in the corner of the elevator. Not him, never him, watching, always watching.